Today I'm making pecan pie bars, and we're going to start with the base, which is basically a type of a shortbread base. And in my bowl I've got 1 3/4 cup of flour mixed together with a 1/2 cup of sugar. We're going to cut in 3/4 cup of cold butter, and what I'm going to do is cut it into small pieces, and then I'll use my pastry blender to cut it in. Okay, so now I've got my butter all cut up into cubes. I'm going to use my ancient pastry blender, and you want the butter cold. It'll cut in and not blend in so bad. You want it cut until it's like almost the size of peas, and we'll pick up there in a couple minutes when I have it all cut in. So I've got the butter cut into cubes. I'm going to use the pastry blender to cut it all up and mix it in. You want it to about the size of peas, and it'll take a couple minutes. You want to make sure that your butter is cold, because otherwise it'll blend in and you won't get the right consistency. We'll pick up in a couple of minutes. And this is the consistency that you want. It's just small bits of butter all blended up. If you don't have a pastry blender, you can use a fork or a pair of knives, or at last resort you can always use your hands. You just don't want the butter to soften too much. And then you need a 9x13 pan, which is lined with parchment paper, and you want to grease the parchment paper, and we're going to dump this into that and kind of spread it out as even as you can, and you want to pat that all down nice and firm. So this is what your base should look like. Just push it out as evenly as you can. Make sure you get into the corners. Level it out, push it down hard. And then you're going to set that aside while we work on the filling, which I'm at the moment chopping pecans. You need about 2 cups of roughly chopped pecans. You can put them to any size you want. And while you're doing this, you want to preheat your oven. I believe it's 350. And we'll pick up when I have everything chopped up. Okay, so we start ready for the filling. I've got 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon of flour and 2/3 cup of brown sugar, and you want to mix those together. Make sure that you don't have any hard lumps in your brown sugar in your flour, because it'll show up in your filling. So you get that all together, and what we're going to do, I'm going to put it on the mixer. We're going to slowly add 4 eggs and get them all mixed in one at a time. And the reason we haven't baked the filling, the crust yet, excuse me, is you want the filling to set while the crust bakes so that it will slightly thicken. So we're going to beat in 1 egg at a time, if I can dump just 1 egg. And nope, so we'll beat in 2 that time. We'll get that mixed together. And there's the 3rd egg. You'll have to stop from time to time and scrape down the sides. And there goes the last egg. And you just want to mix it till it's totally incorporated. And I've added a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of vanilla. I'll mix that, and then we're going to add in 1.5 cups of corn syrup. They recommend dark. I've only got light, so I'm going to use light. I'm not a big fan of corn syrup, but there are times when I do use it, and this is one of them. So we'll get that all mixed in, and then we'll take it off the mixer and add the pecans. The pecans, you just need to be a rough chop. They don't need to be fine. So this is all mixed up. We'll wait and add the pecans just before we pour it onto the crust. So this needs to set Just set it aside. We're going to put the crust into a 350-degree oven and let it bake for about 20 minutes. You want it just starting to lightly brown a little bit. And then we'll mix the pecans in and pour that over the hot crust and bake it a little longer. And we'll pick up there. Okay, this is 20 minutes after the base has baked. You'll see it's just starting to lightly brown around the edges. That's what you want. I just added the pecans to the filling, and we're going to pour that over the crust. And we'll spread that out as evenly as we can. It's going to go right back in the oven and bake at 350 for 40 to 50 minutes till the filling center is just set. It may jiggle just a little bit, but it shouldn't be runny. So we'll get this spread out, and in the oven she goes. It kind of spreads itself a little bit. Now if you want to be really fancy, you can decorate it and put some whole pecans across the top. I'm not that fancy. I'm more than happy with just the chopped pecans that are in there. So in the oven she goes. And we'll see you when that is done. So this is mine at 40 minutes. It's done. When you shake it, you may have a little bit of a jiggle in the center, which is okay. It's a little bit puffed, but it'll settle back down. And that is done. So we'll set it aside to cool, and then we'll put it in the fridge for a couple hours to get it chilled, and then you can cut it.